Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the time to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Welcome to Never Been Promoted, another episode. We're doing them live. Why? Because we can. That's why. Sometimes that's what you do in life. You just go live because you've got the technology and not enough wisdom to know otherwise. So we're going to do this. I hope my guest is okay with it. We haven't told her yet. That's not true. We're going to meet Nina Jagannathan. She says Nathan to be a little more kinder to those who can't say Nathan, but it's Jagannathan. I don't even know if she can hear me at this point off stage, but we're going to bring her on. She's got a ton of marketing knowledge, and we're going to hear about her story and all the things she's doing to help the world and get better at their companies and such. If this is your first time listening ever to the podcast, thanks. I hope you come back, and I hope it's the first of many. And if you've been here before, you rock. Let's see what we can learn from the guest today. Only call to actions I ever do are to ask you to do 5-star reviews on Apple or Spotify if you like the podcast. If you don't, hit me up on LinkedIn and tell me what we can do to improve it. And give the old YouTube there a subscribe if you want to see some more of this content at youtube.com at Never Been Promoted, right there on the bottom. Enjoy it. Let's bring in Nina. Enough shameless promotion. I think I did everything I need to in preview. Nina Jagannathan. Is it Jagannathan or Jagannathan?
A lot of people are confused and think I'm Swedish. So they say Jagannathan. Well, because, obviously. So it's Jagannathan. Like the English word juggernaut. If you look them up, look that word up in the dictionary. If people still have dictionaries, you will see it comes from my last name.
For those who don't know, that's a book that had a bunch of words in it. Said,
yeah. It's old. It's all antiquated now.
It is. You can just use the old Google machine or even GPT or one of those. Say, hey, what's the Google? What? Oh, it's gonna pick up if I do that. Yeah, it did. Hold on a second. See, you can't joke around with Google. She's listening.
Yeah, exactly. Or Siri or. Alexa.
Right. You're going to trigger them all. Nina, thanks for coming on, by the way. You want to start with just high level of kind of, you've got a lot going on. I wanted you to do the introductions because I was going to certainly butcher it if I did. Just set the stage as kind of your titling. Just give us your titles. Brag a little.
Okay. All right. No, well, I'm very shy and dainty, so I'll try. So, so basically after 20 some odd years in corporate, I decided to pivot. That just seems to be the favorite word everyone uses these days, is pivot to doing my own solopreneur company called Wits End Studios. So I started with that, and I did. So it's supposed to be like, fancy. It's I work with companies, mostly tech, B2B, because somebody who has a master's in electrical engineering and spent most of her career in technology, I'm very much very well versed in it, and I find most technical people they kind of have a challenge trying to explain their technology to business people. They talk about APIs, they talk about these cool services, and it's cloud and this, and a lot of times that loses their clients. So I am like the nerd whisperer. I basically try to,
So for Wits End Studios, what's like the 30-second pitch of what you guys do for a customer?
B2B and tech writing. So,
okay.
And
it's straightforward right there. I mean, if you need tech writing, seems like it's straightforward. Right there.
Yeah. Copywriting, content, case studies, white papers, that type of thing.
I feel like the white paper. Why is it gonna be white paper? I like, card paper, yellow paper.
I want I like, parchment.
Parchment, do a story on parchment paper. That actually would probably get
in
attention.
A scroll. And
you could burn it. Like maybe it only comes to life when you put it in the oven, like the lemon on it or something, and then the writing comes out.
Ta-da!
That might be a fun post. Let me try that. All right. So that's not the other thing you're working on. You're actually the VP of marketing of another company. I think it's H2O Energy US. Is that right?
Yeah. So the parent company is in Australia. So what they're doing is something really cool. So as we know in the US, there's a lot of coal, we're still using a good amount of fossil fuels and whatnot. But there's a lot of coal mines that have been abandoned because they've been tapped out of all their resources. And they're kind of an environmental ick right now. And the really good thing about this company is they're using pumped hydro and the storage for the pumped hydro energy unit is the abandoned coal mine. So the plop that puppy in there. And then so basically they will reclaim that land, they will treat the water, they will do all these great things to the environment. And since the original coal mine was hooked into the grid, they're already set up. They do pumped hydro, they use solar, all the renewable energies obviously aren't available 24/7. We're not in Sweden part of the year where it's like sunshine all day. So it allows for storage for wind and solar and pumped hydro and keeps all that stuff. And so it is able to run 24 hours a day. And it's green energy. And there's so many companies that do like greenwashing, which apparently that was an 8-year-old term. I'm late to the game. People say, oh, we're very green technology, all that good stuff. And they're really not. So this way you actually can legit do that stuff. So all those old towns, all those, towns that have been abandoned or kind of died off because the coal mine died, they can be rejuvenated again. And companies will want to work near those places. Green energy, it's much cheaper. It's kind of a win-win-win. So
you have that, and I have one more thing. You're it's indigenous bridges. So talk about that a little bit.
They're based out of Taiwan, and basically they're a nonprofit, and they're trying to kind of bring together all the indigenous groups in the Pacific Islander, that type of thing, Hawaii, all that Polynesian, Pacific Island areas, and having bringing those wisdoms and that culture and everything. And it's also kind of another link towards environmental also, because there's a lot of things that they do that was very sustainable and renewable back in the day as well. So I'm part of that.
What's your role at the Indigenous Bridges initiative?
So one of their main things is with a youth group. So basically taking all the, basically making sure that their culture is sustained and they learn about it and doesn't die off, which a lot of people these days become so westernized or whatever, and they lose who they used to be. So they're trying to revitalize that. So
I'm imagining like a bunch of indigenous tribes of different areas of the world getting summoned, not knowing why they're there, and someone starts rocking out a PowerPoint, and even they're like, or they have to join. Someone was like, you have to join a webinar. What the hell's a webinar? And they're like, I'm just going to throw a spear at you, and they kill the webinar.
That might be what I do.
Right.
Well,
so the reason I'm being a little more playful with Nina than I normally am with guests is because Nina's a comedian as well. She won't talk about this because then I'm going to be, hey, tell me a joke. And I'll be like, okay, so you have to tell us a joke. I think you have to now. What's your favorite lead? You are a comedian. Maybe I thought that. I'm pretty sure you've been on stage, though, doing stand-up. Is that correct?
Yeah, and open mics. Not anything.
Open mics.
Yeah, nothing too sexy.
All right. I don't know your act, but are you able to do your icebreaker, let's say not work the crowd, not crowd work, right? We're talking like you transition into your story, your first bit. What's your PG-14, not 13, 14 bit?
Okay, cool. Let's see. Well, the main thing is when I was in 5th grade, in social studies, we were doing a social studies unit on anthropology. And back in the day, there was nope. I have a better story. I have 2 pitches. So this one is, so when Temple of Doom came out, oh God. When Temple of Doom came out, I was in junior high, which gives you an indication how old I am. I've never seen it, don't plan to ever see it. And basically it showed all these great things about India, including these tribes, if you haven't seen it, these tribes that in India that eat monkey, that eat monkey hearts, monkey brains. And so, of course, I hear about it when I'm in junior high, and everyone's like, well, does your family eat monkey brains? Because, they just learned this. So it's Indiana Jones. It's got to be right. So after a while, I got really tired of I got really tired of hearing this over and over again. So I finally this is when I started becoming snarky, because I was a very shy, quiet person. And I just said, monkey brains are, yes, tired and snarky. Monkey brains are really hard to come by here, but how's your dog doing? And that's usually, and that's usually what shuts them down. I actually do that to adults too. So,
right. I love that. I think if you preceded, hey, listen, you look at me, I know you think I'm Swedish, and you're like, no, I'm actually a mix of, an Indian and Asian. And you're like, and one thing that's really influenced me is this scene from Temple of Doom. You've all seen it. I've not seen the movie. I've only heard about it. So I'm going to describe something. And you're like, they eat monkey brains. And people, and you go, the truth is, it's hard to usually be like, but since I'm half Asian, how's your dog?
Yeah, he's on dog. That's terrible.
So that way you can do a tie back later to the fact that you're Swedish.
Yes. Well,
I told you about this.
Yes. Okay, next time.
Do you see how we're not
just roll this out?
So listen, we're talking with Nita today because she is actually incredibly knowledgeable in marketing, and she's fun to talk with, and I want to hear some of your takes on a few things in marketing specifically. So you're working with a old industry, trying to become new industry idea of it. Talk about maybe some of the things you're doing in marketing specifically. And we talk a lot about social media, but marketing is such a hard part of any startup, any business. Take what you're doing and maybe just what did you try, what works? Just take us through kind of what your strategy is with these companies. And if you throw a joke in with it, totally acceptable. We love that. That's good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, luckily, like I am grateful that the people I work with, they're all much older than I am and a lot more, mature and studied. And so I make my little snide comments and they all very politely laugh. So
they're like, I don't know what she's talking about, but she's laughing. So we're going to laugh too.
Yeah, exactly.
You're laugh your own jokes, just to be clear, everybody, because no one else will.
That would be funny if I go on stage and just bust out laughing. No good reason. But I'm just like, hi, funny. Anyway, so back to your question about marketing. So since we're still the solution's been around for a while. We're the US branch of this company is relatively new. So in terms of marketing, what I've been doing is kind of just explaining the tech and at a high level and trying to bring more people in. And I think the emotional aspect of it, the thing that I let off here too, talking about how it actually, very few companies leave the place better than when they found it, type of thing. So here, the company is actually, H2O is trying to, it's going to treat the water and fix the ground. And instead of like this big coal mine, it's just totally a win-win-win to help with the economy, get the jobs back. You'll get workers that are trained and in something that's healthier than working in a coal mine, and kind of emphasize that part of the story, because I don't think people realize. They just think it's yet another environmental company. It's great, blah, blah. But a lot of times another person I ran into on LinkedIn was saying like how the environmental message, people are like, yeah, okay. And they sort of like almost disregard it to some extent. It's funny what people cling on to. So like people will get mad about, they still use plastic bags, but then they'll still cut the little rings on the 6-packs because they don't want a turtle to get stuck in it. So that they embrace, but it's funny which habits they've kept. And this is just a win-win all around. So sure.
My favorite one is like it had to do with Kim Kardashian, who's all like, let's save the planet stuff. And you should. I'm not bashing that, but at the same time, she'll say that the next post will be she flew to Paris on her private jet to get a piece of cheesecake so she could, because she liked it, and then flew home. And I'm like, well, that also certainly helps the environment as well.
Absolutely. I mean,
and so
you got to save the cheesecake.
The irony of what people get behind. Now, cleverly, not skeptical. What I'm saying is like it's an incredibly good marketing position to solve in your brand differentiation. Is we improve the environment, we're doing this, but it's also incredibly, it addresses the problems front and center. Did you come up with that?
I heard them talking about it, and our president is very impassioned about it, and she made some reference to it. I was like, and then when I talked to the engineers and was trying to learn on that stuff, I'm like, oh, so it's, yeah. So kind of with all those influences.
I mean, it's really, but and from a marketing perspective, when you make a claim like that, the culture and the actions of the company need to back it up. If you, and I'll make the poor assumption they do, but was that something that horse became ahead of the cart, or they were already doing that and you're like, hey, you're missing this giant part of the story? And the reason I ask is because this is where a lot of business owners are doing good, but it's the best kept secret. So how did that work in that dynamic? Because it is a brilliantly positioned piece, specifically if you're actually doing it. So
well, I mean, and that's the thing for US, since we're so new, we're looking for investments, and we have we did a feasibility, or working on a feasibility study now, and all that good stuff. So that is baked into the standard operating procedure. So that is something that, and definitely if I'm marketing it, we're going to be held accountable to it when we do it, and I will make sure it's part of it. Yeah, absolutely. The engineers are very very loyal to that concept as well. So
that's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
What have you guys tried that didn't work, and why didn't it work?
I don't think it was necessarily anything that didn't work. It was more along the lines of finding mines that were like potentially stable enough. And then there's a lot of it is just a lot of the government red tape trying to get, and yeah, there's definitely powers that be that prefer the way to keep the way things are right now. And so they're going to put as many hindrances in place as possible. So there's
That's
always
not going to
that
stop you. Oh, no. Oh, no.
No, my, Dr. Evil was sitting there trying to take care of all that stuff. So there is a lot of bureaucracy, and there's, like, as you know, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but when government's involved, it tends to be a little bit lengthy and trying to get and convoluted.
I've heard when they get involved, it kind of jams stuff up. So in your world, how important is social media? So this is for like the companies that maybe have never thought of social media or anything else, but how important is social media marketing come to your business?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a huge amount, because the thing is, and it's kind of funny to me, but like so LinkedIn used to be like, I was one of the early adopters of LinkedIn. Once again, old, tired, snarky. You write that down. It was more of a resume repository. So that's basically everyone used it for. They just put their stuff in. Here's a picture. That's what I'm working on. And they left it like that. And in the past, like I'd say 5 years or so, it's really, that platform has blown up to be truly a marketing platform. There's so many, but out of all there's like millions of people on the platform. Probably, anecdotally, I heard about like 5% or even less are actually actively on the platform. So it's a really good opportunity if you are, especially if your client, your ICP, is people that are professional, that are in the business world, that are in tech or law or environment or anything like that. They're actually like a proper business. That is a really good place to market. And the key with everything is being consistent in your posts and providing value and talking about your company and instilling interest and all that good stuff. So that's definitely a huge recommend. And making sure your marketing department, focuses on LinkedIn, especially if their business, their clients live there or should. And same with Facebook. Means depending on the business, could be decent too. Instagram, a little bit less so. For us, our main clients are other like utility companies as well as investors. So I don't see me, jumping around on Instagram being helpful.
Right. And I think and this is a really interesting, because I've run into this a lot of times from the marketing standpoint as well, where your direct customer is not on any of the social media. They're just not. And the ones you want to get to are, it's just But when you do get to them through, let's say, conferences, through knocking on doors, whatever the typical, maybe more traditional means are in some more lagger industries or industries where there's social, they do come check you out on social. So they say, who is that Nina person? Who's this, company that's, H2 Energy? What is this? And then they look, that's usually one of the top searches in Google that's going to come up. So having that in position with content and interactions to show that you're a real company, you're alive, you know what you're talking about, I think it's super critical. Maybe talk about that a little bit. Does the parent company, did they see it that way, that hey, we need to pre-invest in this, or are they actually thinking, hey, we're going to meet people through social media to get invest? Talk through, because that's where a lot of people, a lot of investment isn't placed in a company, is when there's not this immediate idea, this instant gratification AI world we live in, where like I need my leads now, and like what you're doing is that's not an overnight thing. So talk to me a little bit about how you guys are approaching that and how your company thought about it, maybe prior to you kind of being in the helm for it.
The marketing stuff is relatively new. Like I said, the U.S. company is kind of a little bit independent, and we just need to get our feet on the ground and get actually like a mind that we can work on and show its validity and all that good stuff. And so I pretty much, my next step, I've been posting on LinkedIn. We have the website set up, obviously. One thing I want to do is create a newsletter. And also one thing, we have a ton of video. So we're going to go through all those and create like little educational videos on various pieces of the mines there. The U.S. Company is based out of Alabama. Ton of coal mines out there, and the Appalachians and all that good stuff. And the thing that's interesting is we have competition. So there's other people in like Tennessee and Kentucky that are doing something similar. So, but they're running into a lot of bureaucratic stuff as well. So who knew? So, yeah, so basically a lot of the website is going to be educational, as well as we're going to have like an investor brief. Like if you're interested, it's like just something that you can download, get your email, all that good stuff.
Right.
So all that, the usual table stakes that you would for any marketing company, kind of getting that rolling too.
What's your favorite part about Alabama? Random questions in the middle of this.
I haven't been yet, but
you haven't been to Alabama?
No,
oh, you can't. You can't answer that question yet. But when you get there, I'd love to hear what your answer is. Let's talk more about your Swedish roots.
Yes.
No, all right. So I want to pivot over to your own journey, because you have a lot of things going on, side hustle. Talk about growing your own company it's Wits End Studio, right? Studios, which I'm showing online now. Talk about how you got into that a bit, and maybe one thing you're like, okay, people, if you're going to start getting into your entrepreneurial world, do this, don't do that.
The thing that was the most difficult for me, or not difficult, it was a challenge, because I sort of like, very naively started my journey with okay, I'm here, yay, rejoice. And it doesn't quite work that way. It's like you need to have a more who your ICP is, which when the first time somebody asked me who my ICP was, I thought they meant Insane Clown Posse. So I was confused. So I actually wrote an article.
Insane Clown Posse, is that from some kind of Marvel thing that I'm not aware of, or?
It's a band. It's a very popular band, and they have very, very loyal fan base called Juggalos.
I'm just a gigolo everywhere I go. and people know the part I'm playing. I paid for every dance, and
I performed that in high school.
I sang that at Hulk Hogan's karaoke bar a week ago. He was there, by the way. Different name, but we'll get just a gigolo. Keep going, please. Please continue. Thanks for listening to that. All right, so your ICP, you're like, I don't know everyone, and so people who need things and stuff, and they like internet.
And then I twirled my hair and giggled.
I am constantly refining our ICP, and I'm one that's gone from let's hit as many OKs to like, let's shoot this down. Let's get even more and more. I'm favoring more and more quality as more and more AI enters the world, and more automation. And I love those things. But when it comes to networking and meeting people, I feel it's a bit too much. I think for my personal brand, I think I like less. For you, talk about your ICP path, because that list, I'm going to be very clear to anyone listening right now. That list determines everything downstream you should be doing, how your content should be, what your website, your LinkedIn profile, your social, all the things really are around who it is you're going to be connecting with, because that's the value proposition you need to come up with. And if that's not, lined up really well, then you get a lot of misses. So I'll be quiet.
And people come off sounding confused, and I rather wait for the confusion until they meet me personally. But in general, my ICP is basically tech companies that want to further engagement, and they'd want to market to people other than other tech people. So there's a lot of people with companies that don't realize they need the tools they have, especially in the cybersecurity and risk management. They think they have password, they make people change their password every, 6 months or whatever. It's sufficient, when there's so many things out there and you think, oh, I have a small company, they're not going to be interested. I know companies like in school districts in the middle of nowhere, like in Louisiana, that get hacked, to get ransomware. I mean, nobody is really safe. And so those type of tools, people should, come to the table wanting to buy those products. But the thing is, they don't understand it. And a lot of times technical folks aren't able to translate into business savvy language. So, or they view it as dumbing it down, which isn't really isn't the best way to put your foot forward to a client. So my area is basically just writing posts, writing LinkedIn, like doing a lot of social media, as well as, like I said, white papers and case studies and product descriptions and stuff to show this is the product, this is how it works, and this is why you need it. And the thing is, and also have them coming out of it more intelligent, then they actually can speak to it intelligently versus like, just take our word for it, you need this. I'm like, okay. Now they'll come out of the meeting talking like APIs also, and they'll be like, their friends would leave them. It's like, oh, you've become a nerd.
So give me a use case story for yourself where, you did the technical writing and the other, the pieces that you do within it, and describe it and what the outcomes were, because I think sometimes people miss the impact of what you can actually do with good writing. A lot of people think it kind of goes in the ether and it's nice to have, and we do that when we have extra money. Talk about the impact you've actually had on a few, on maybe one particular customer.
Yeah, and my the reason I even came to fore with my company was the fact that throughout my career, I've been the one that when I would talk to clients or investors or whatnot, and my team would invariably go into the weeds and start talking about all the details about how this works and whatnot. And then inevitably you could see the audience's eyes glaze over. So I've jumped in and said, okay, so let's take this a few steps back. This is what they're trying to do. And then I'm a huge fan of, my dad taught me this, like Richard Feynman's like first principles type of thing. It's like Aristotle, all that good stuff. It's like basically taking all these larger complex concepts and breaking them into not pieces that everyone understands, and building blocks, and then doing it and kind of rebuilding it in a way that they understand it. And that's what I did. And that's what basically got the business, is the fact that they understood what they were trying to do and what was important, versus, oh, we use this, and no, we have, we're using this protocol, and then they're not going to know what that means. And so, yeah, I've helped countless clients come to the table and be ready to sign because of that.
That's fantastic. In your current business, what do you dislike most about it?
I think for the most part, it's the ghosting, which, I mean, it's bound to happen. You get like people that are super interested, and then you write a proposal, and then you never hear from them again. And then when, I used to follow up. Now I don't.
Well, that's the question. Does following up, does it ever pay off?
I mean, when I did, I usually go, oh, no, I haven't even looked at it yet, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I mean, that's fine. I mean, it never, luckily, which is good. I mean, it's like it never really was based on what was wrong with it. Every time I follow up, it was they just haven't looked at it, which shows it isn't a priority, which is fine.
Right.
And or it was a, they thought, oh, I wanted to get this done cheaper. I'm like, well, that's fine, and that's an option. And that's the thing with a lot of companies. They think, oh, I can just go to GPT or whatever and do the same thing Nina does. And like,
well, that's a really good point. So, I hear technical writing. I would probably want to go GPT because I think the point of technical writing is there's a little more knowledge and depth. GPT could be good to enhance it, to make it sound easier to read. But there's a lot on Fiverr, Upwork. How are you competing against just a global market, that effectively could do it as well? So how do you compete in that market for that? Because it becomes somewhat commoditized. And anyway,
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear how you're differentiating with that, or maybe that's still a struggle, and that's one of the challenges too.
Not so much, because the thing is, most of my clients are people that through marketing on LinkedIn, they were able to come to me and whatnot. And the differentiator is, they're able to do that. People in Fiverr and Upwork, and they're able to do that stuff. And it's a good place to start that. But when you're doing more and more sophisticated things, it isn't just, oh, make this sound more understandable. Oh, make this do this, that type of thing. It's putting nuance in, putting and having that background that you can learn that stuff. Like, there's definitely an art to writing technically.
Well, so it's like, do you need a couple or it's someone who can take what you have and make it better? What you're saying is you almost embed in and actually learn the business and what they're doing. So there's more thoughtfulness and more effectiveness to it, which, not that you can't do that on international markets, but typically you're looking to be almost
easier.
Like a fractional full-time writer for somebody versus someone you're just picking up Fiverr and sending them jobs to.
Right. And there's definitely value in this.
Yeah, communicate the value as well. I think that it sounds like when people come to you, the value is established. They like what you wrote. That's what they need. Versus, you're picking people way harder.
And it's more, I like to position myself as like more of a consultant in the company. So it's like being a strategic partner. It isn't like, oh, I want it would make more sense if you're like, I need 10 blog posts on this topic. Go. That type of thing. With me, it'd be like, okay, what's the end goal? What are you trying to accomplish? What is your roadmap? Let's start, inculcating, good word, bringing in more, sort of leading into your new product line. There's more strategic thinking that comes along with when you deal with more of a consultant in relationship versus more throwing things over the fence.
Yeah. Are you, do you do also like keyword search, like a Quora or other places where you're like, hey, this is what people are searching for, and I write these articles specifically for
Quora, Reddit.
Talk about the process of technical writing a bit, because I'm dumb to it. So I know it kind of works on LinkedIn, doesn't work, and what you should do. I'm not saying we do all of that for myself, but your process, how do you take someone through it to really drive the value that it's more than just, reading a few technical documents and knocking it out?
Yeah, I'm basically looking at trends, looking at competitors. What are they posting? What are their ads? What are the things that they're pushing? What are the ones that you can tell, like on Facebook and stuff like that? You can tell what kind of ads this company is running, and what the how well they're doing, because there must be a reason why they're putting it up there. And just like you're gleaning the things, and then reading journals and going to conferences and being I follow a lot of especially in the cybersecurity area, I follow a lot of the stuff with the CIA and Homeland Security and all this other stuff, and I follow those and look at the trends and stuff like that. So you're a lot more well versed in that area, and also looking and seeing, okay, what are the new cyber threats that are coming. And like I wrote an article about like the QR codes, those can be hacked.
Oh, tell me about that. I like
because what people can do is, here's a QR code. Like if you're walking around the street and there's like a like a post with a sign for like a concert or something, and it has a QR code, so you have all the details and everything in it. If I can put another QR code, you're not going to know by looking at the QR code if it's like it's malware. and I scan it and I go about my merry day. And then you find out that it's malware. It's checking out everything. It's either installing other malware, or it's capturing all your transactions, and there's a bunch of things it can do. And yeah, you wouldn't know any better. And so there's protection. And so as the technology proceeds, there's going to be vulnerabilities introduced. So it's called quishing.
I've never heard of it. I thought that's what you did when you had a baby. Honestly, I thought you just pushed. And
that's squishing.
Is that squishing? It's like,
see, yeah. I'll write it. I'll send you a glossary. I'll send you a dictionary.
A dictionary. You can send me a dictionary. I would love to get one. That would be such a funny thing. You send to somebody and you highlight the word that they misuse. Like, you do it as more of spite. Like, hey, I sent you something since you're so. That's just mean. We've lost our audience completely. All right. This time of show, I want you to tell me who should get a hold of you and how they should get a hold of you.
If people are jonesing to be part of an amazing environmental company that I've been very impressed with. And if you've figured it out by now, I don't get very impressed very easily. I'm very cynical and just, yeah. So I'm actually very impressed by them, and they have the right attitude, and they actually want to help. And it isn't just about making money and bailing. They're actually wanting to bring everyone along, including the coal companies. They want to help the coal miners. They want to help towns. They want to help the environment itself. It's awesome. Exactly. Then contact us at www.h2oenergyus.com. Contact me on LinkedIn. I pretty much live there. Exactly. And then, and if you want any type of B2B, and I actually do B2C also, content or copy, and go to witsendstudios.net. And yeah, I'm pretty much, I lurk on LinkedIn. So
LinkedIn lurker. My new term is when someone joins a Zoom and they don't turn their camera on, I call them a Zoom fogger. They're like, what do you, that's a nice studio background you got. Like, well, I'm sure yours is great too, wherever you're calling from. If there was a question I should have asked you today, but I didn't, what would this question have been?
I would think mostly about Iowa. You just missed out on that entirely. That's where I live right now.
We don't talk about Bruno or Iowa. So tell me about Iowa.
I live in de facto live in Iowa City right now. So yeah.
Is that because you have something on your ankle that says you can't leave, or is it by choice?
Yes. My parole officer won't let me. Anyway, so my parents, I grew up here, so nice. Which is why I can't really do much of my stand-up here, because
it's a little conservative.
It's a little bit on the nose.
Right, and they don't like Swedish, so.
Right, yeah, it's
it's a little homogenous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That way. Yesterday, my first live thing was with Donnie SC Ligonis, who runs the KTH Innovation School. He's the director of that for Sweden, which is funny. That's why. And you guys look so similar. Well,
maybe
he actually has dark hair. It's gray now. I hope he's listening, but he's not blonde. Just saying. He must be very popular there. If you have dark hair and you're Swedish, you must be like, oh my gosh. Like, people stare like.
I always giggle when I hear about Sweden. So the Onion. I know. The Onion many years ago had a satirical atlas called Our Dumb World, and it slammed every country. There was something negative or snarky about everything except Sweden. I was dying. I thought that was the funniest thing.
It looks like a lovely place. Nina, thank you for your humor and joining me today.
Yes.
You've got lots of great things going on. So if you need some great technical strategy, it sounds like as well with the execution of getting it done, writing content around this, you definitely get a hold of her at Wits End Studio. Check out the H2 Energy US. I think what they're trying to do, and if you're into sustainability in pieces, just outside investment, just following, because that's a great way for the company to find investments by more people, more social, more interaction. So check it out. But Nina, thank you. It's always fun to talk to you. I know we've had a few interactions in the past, and this will be the first of many.
Good.
Thanks for joining. Okay, I'm gonna take you to the backstage. Enjoy the green room. There's no food or drinks available at this point, but and just hang out back there, and I'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
Hey, thank you for everyone who's listened, got to this point in the show for Never Been Promoted. I appreciate Nina coming on the program here. Our goal, right, is to help entrepreneurs everywhere get better in entrepreneurship through conversations, through the journeys, through micro mentoring. The metaphor of cut the tie. You're holding yourself back by holding on to things that you don't need to. Let them go. Become the entrepreneur you want to become. It doesn't matter if you've ever been promoted. I've never been promoted. I tried. I did. It just never happened. But it doesn't matter. Just get out there, unleash your entrepreneur, become great. I appreciate you listening. Until we meet next time, take care.